Hi guys, it's Jonathan. I wanted to get on here and do just a quick video. I've had this Onyx Edition 2024. It's got 3,500 miles on it now, and I just wanted to do a quick kind of overview about what it's been like with this car for about 4 months, having come out of a 2021 XT and going down to the naturally aspirated motor. So this is a 2024 Outback Onyx Edition, which starts at about 36,200. You can't get any option packages with this. It just comes as is. They used to do an option package with the moonroof, Harman Kardon sound system and stuff, but now you just get all that stuff standard. So it's a pretty big jump in price from a base premium, which starts at I think 31. So it's a $5,000 difference, and then it's a about $1,000 difference in price from just a 2.5 liter limited. So it's kind of a sport limited model is the way you can think about it. So I'm just going to go over some things that I like better about this one and some things that I miss about my 2021 Onyx Edition XT. This one, you have this, same touchscreen here. It's this 11.6-inch Starlink system. The wireless Android Auto is very good. I've read about people having issues with it, it being a little quirky, but in this car, it's worked perfectly. It looks good. The map now takes up the full screen, and you can kind of toggle between apps here. And this screen although it's still a little bit slow to respond sometimes, it's a definite improvement over what was in the previous models. So if you have a Subaru that has this screen from 2020 up to 2023, it's been improved pretty dramatically for 2024. It's a lot quicker to respond to touch. It has a dedicated heated seat button here. The climate control is just snappier. And the old one, the map took up this much of the screen if you were in Android Auto, and it was just so slow to respond sometimes that it actually kind of made me angry. So this is an improvement, a definite improvement over this system in previous models. This one has a heated steering wheel, which works nicely, which the old XT did not. And it also has a Harman Kardon sound system with a subwoofer in the back. I think it's a 9-speaker system. It's not the best system I've ever heard. There are systems in other cars that may be a little bit more expensive that sound better, but it does sound significantly better than the base, and it comes standard now. Subaru used to do Harman Kardon on only the very top trim levels, and now you can get it standard on this one, and standard I believe on a limited as well. The seats are the same as in my old one. It's this StarTex material. It feels really good. It's soft. I've never had an issue with like wear on it. The heated seats, as in all Subarus, are roasty toasty. One thing I don't like about this car is the auto start stop, although it is better in the 2.5 than it is in the turbo. In the turbo, it was very noticeable when it kicked in, almost to the point where you felt like the car was bucking a little bit. This one is a little smoother, but I still just turn that off every time I get in the car. Unfortunately, you can't turn it off and have it stay off when you restart the car, which is annoying. But that's kind of nitpicky. Other than that, this one loses the rear heated seats, so these seats are not heated anymore. Equipment wise, it's lost that, and I think that's about it. The only thing that it doesn't have that my old Onyx XT did have. So improved touchscreen. You have dedicated heated seat buttons down here, which is nice. You have a heated steering wheel. So they're adding more equipment to these as we go further into this generation of Outback. One thing this one does have is the wireless phone charger, which is a $400 option. And when you put your phone in there, there's this little light here that's blue, and pretty immediately, if you're using Android Auto, that light turns orange and it stops charging the phone because the phone starts getting hot. So I think it's to help prevent the phone from getting damaged when it's on the pad. But I still plug in the phone every time because this will charge the battery maybe 2% and then just overheat. So I would avoid getting this wireless phone charger. I know that they're kind of hip now and becoming standard, but I would much rather have the storage cubby in here. And also, if you have a newer, this is a Samsung Galaxy S10, which is not the biggest phone, but if you have a newer iPhone or a like an S22 Ultra, it's not even going to fit in here. It's very narrow. So I would just avoid getting this altogether. Just plug your phone in. Or you don't have to plug your phone in anymore because this system is wireless. But there was a nice storage cubby here that this takes up. And that's another thing about the Outback, is the storage is a little bit lacking. There's 2 cup holders. I have this storage cubby that's now taken up by the wireless charger. There's a tray here that is not too big, but if I have a passenger in the car, they'll put their keys there, or maybe a wallet. There's a little storage cubby over here on this side for maybe a map or, you know, a snack or whatever you want. And then there's a 2-tiered there's a 2-tiered center armrest here. But besides that, there's no storage in this area. I kind of wish that this was maybe a button system here, like you'd find on a Honda, and then another storage cubby right here. It just seems like this whole thing is a little too big. But Subarus, they always tend to be like a year behind everyone else in terms of like, oh, we're going to add a push button. There's no digital gauge cluster here. You get this screen. That's I think it's a 4.5 inch little productivity screen, which you can cycle through some different information, what you're listening to, tire pressure, which I think my tires are okay. It's just been very cold, so it's changed the pressure, and then just trip computer information. This little part of it up here, this part where it says my range, you can change that to different things. I like to have my range there permanently, but you can change that to adjust what is displayed there permanently. Talk about with this car is the power. So the XT, yes, it was fast. Yes, if you dipped into the throttle correctly, it was definitely punchy. It had good passing power. It was generally unaffected by altitude, driving up here in the mountains of Colorado. It was, you know, it's enough power where if you really tow into it, your passengers will say, whoa, and it's just unexpected from a wagon like that. Having said that, the CVT is definitely better suited for this motor. It's more predictable. It's I almost feel like it's smooth. It's just smoother in its operation. There was in the XT, and you'll see this in other reviews, there's a disconnect between when the turbo's kicking in, how much throttle you're giving it, and the thrust that you're getting. If you accelerate slowly and you're expecting kind of a whoosh, and then it kind of short shifts into second gear, and then you dip in a little bit more throttle, then it'll shove you back in your seat. But it doesn't do that every time. So it's a little bit unpredictable in its power delivery, and it kind of made for a herky-jerky driving experience that I even after having that car for 3 years, I still could not quite get used to how much power am I going to get out of this thing right now. Whereas this motor is, there's no comparison in acceleration. This car is not fast by any means. There's a little bit of a torque spike I've noticed between about 3,200 and 5,000 RPM, where if you give it a little bit more throttle, you'll feel it'll feel like it's accelerating quicker, and this car is jumpier off the line than the turbo. From 0 to 20, I bet this car is faster than the turbo. Beyond that, it's game over for this motor. But in city driving, I think they'll feel pretty much the same, unless you're just rocketing around from stoplight to stoplight. Passing power in this is okay. My dad has a 2012 Outback 2.5 liter with the CVT, and that car is just gutless all the time. This one has adequate power for most situations. One other thing about it is it's definitely louder. Even though the CVT is better tuned to this, it's just, you always know how much power you're going to get. It's smooth. It's definitely quieter than the CVTs in previous Outbacks. I can tell they've done a lot of work with the NVH of this specific CVT. it's honestly, people say, oh, it's a CVT, it's a CVT, but for the everyman driver, for the daily back and forth, going to work, going to the grocery store, maybe taking a trip up to, you know, go hiking or some whatever, I can see why this motor is and transmission are so popular, because it just operates in the background without having to think about anything. It's okay power. It's much more fuel efficient. Passing power is decent. The only time it feels genuinely sluggish is if you have people in the car and maybe some gear in the back. I drove to up to Fairplay, Colorado a couple weekends ago to stay in a cabin for just a little after Christmas party with some friends and family, and this car had three people in it and some gear in the back, and it was slow going up there. You have to just pace yourself and not rush. But I'm at the point in my life where I'm not trying to race. I'd rather keep it slow. And gas mileage in this, I'm averaging over the course of the car about 24 miles a gallon. In the XT, I was averaging 19.5 miles per gallon over the course of 3 years, which is not good. It's well under the EPA rating. Yes, I kind of had a lead foot in that car sometimes, but that gas mileage was not. I mean, I feel like you can get that now out of a EcoBoost F-150 that has 350 horsepower. So that it just, I was filling up that car once a week, and this car I'm filling up once every 2 weeks, and that alone is worth it to me. It's so nice to not have to go to the gas station once a week. Do you give up power? Yes. Is it noisier than the 2.4? Yes. The 2.4 feels more expensive. It is more expensive, and it feels that way. It's quieter. It's you know, you don't have to rev it out to just, it's torqueier. So off from a stop, you can accelerate at a normal pace without really hearing the engine. This motor is a little bit loud, and it's definitely quieter than old Outbacks, like I said, but it's still, when it's really trying, it is just loud. There's no two ways about it. It moves, and it it does fake shift the gears in the CVT, but if you're, you know, it's just a louder experience. It's a smooth engine. There's no buzzing. I've been in 4 cylinders where, you know, you feel the buzzing through the floorboards and everything. This motor feels very smooth. When it's just sitting here at idle, you can't feel any buzzing. You can actually barely hear it. So it's definitely so much more refined than the CVT and the naturally aspirated boxers used to be in Subarus. But when you get on it, it's loud. And it took a little getting used to. When I first got this car, I kind of regretted it at first because I missed the turbo push and how just smooth, how quiet that motor was. But this is a smoother driving experience, even though it's a less powerful engine, because it's tuned better to the CVT is the biggest thing. So I've gone on and on about the engine, but that is the biggest difference between this car and my 2021 Onyx XT. So if you're thinking about getting a if you're trying to decide between a XT Outback and a 2.5 Outback, I would say it all just comes down to personal preference. For me, I had 2 XTs. I had a Forester XT and an Outback XT, and this was less expensive and had better fuel economy, and I gained some features that I wanted. I gained full screen Android Auto, wireless, snappier system, much better than the one in the 2021. I gained a heated steering wheel. The eyesight system is apparently, you know, improved, wider. It has a 3rd camera here behind the mirror. Wider field of view. It has automatic emergency steering. I haven't noticed anything different about the eyesight. It still beeps too much for me. But it all functions in the background. It's nice to have that kind of safety net. But I haven't noticed any, you know, they've talked a lot about the changes they've made to eyesight and how it's better. But as far as driving the car, I haven't really noticed anything acting much different. The steering wheel is the buttons are different, and they all have a very nice, you can hear that, they all have a very nice click to them. Even cycling this, you feel the click, and it's dampened, So these buttons feel expensive. There's certain things on this car that don't feel expensive. The shifter feels a little junky. This whole piano black plastic thing I'm not a fan of. These buttons don't, these little knobs and buttons don't operate with, you know, the smoothest. They just don't, they feel cheapy. But the steering wheel buttons feel expensive, and they have a nice click to them that reminds me of what you'd find in an Audi. Everything in an Audi, every button you press always has a nice dampened tap to it that feels expensive, and these buttons do that. The interior, the materials are very good for the price. Squishy. There's a nice design here that I know is done on purpose, where it kind of Lexus-like in the way that it ribs out right there, and it's like that on this door too. Soft touch here, contrast stitching. The stitching on this one is green now. On the 2021 it was gray, and now they've matched this green stitching to what's on the doors and the seats. This is a soft touch material. This is hard. This is soft touch. But overall, if you spent any time in a Subaru from 2019 and before, and you sit in one of these, you will be blown away by the quality of the materials in here. They have gone way beyond anything I've ever. I remember the first time I sat in my 2021 Onyx, and I was blown away by just how like nice the materials are. Build quality's good. It feels good. You know, there's no significant big glaring issues in build quality. I like the way the door is designed. Everything kind of flows. There's design in this interior, which is not something that Subaru has ever really been known for. So, long-winded video, but I just wanted to give some general kind of impressions of what it's been like from going to a 2021 Outback XT Onyx Edition to a 2024 Outback Onyx Edition with the 2.5 liter motor. If you have any questions, you can comment below, and below is what the people do down there, and I will do my best to answer them for you. I've worked at a Subaru dealership now for 8 years, so I'm going to try to get into making some videos. I don't always have the time here, but I do have some time today, so yeah, just let me know what you think. Thanks, guys.